to be followed by Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I really wish that our colleagues on the other side of the dais here would be here. I know you, Senator Wicker was here and you explained about Senator Thune, but these really are important issues that the impact of this shutdown is having on the American people. And we're hearing in detail about how it's affecting business. And for a minute, I thought I was the only one who woke up this morning with extra angst about this situation. Now, hearing my colleagues on both sides of me, I realize that it's permeating. Because why? Because we're getting real stories fed back to us by constituents, and those constituents are suffering greatly, all because we won't open the government. And I'm almost overwhelmed, Mr. Chairman, on where to go with my questioning, because I have so many questions. I mean, I could ask Ms. Blakely about aviation and the mention of this registry issue she talked about, which means planes can't get delivered, which means customers can't get planes, which means people, you know, and jobs are going to be delayed. The information that I have about the FAA and the fact that the radar system needs to be maintained. If the radar system isn't maintained over time, it has problems and complications. Our own situation with the weather buoys that we have in the Northwest are critical, vital information for us about weather that impacts fisheries. I guess, Captain, you could say, well, we don't have to worry about it because we're shut down, but when they are fishing, it's vital information. But instead of the buoys working and giving the information, last weekend we had a forecast between the Seattle area and Vancouver Island, and we had no idea what was going to happen. And when you're talking about 60 or 70-mile-an-hour winds, and you're talking about weather forecasts, to have, you can see in this picture, for those of us who were, my colleague from Alaska, familiar with the Pacific Northwest, not understanding whether the storm is going to hit in Seattle and what needs to be done, or whether the storm's going to hit in British Columbia. That's where we were last week. We didn't have the information because there weren't people on the job. And so I look at this situation, and I know my colleague from Mississippi thinks, well, you can just read a few letters and you can say that, you know, that you can call an agency. Well, I can tell you, I've already called about getting these fisheries open. And people have made decisions based on the law and the interpretation of the law. Now, we can disagree with it. I can disagree with it. My colleague here can disagree with it. We can all disagree with the logic of what lawyers have advised, but the bottom line is that's what they have said in a shutdown happens. And so that fishery, as you're saying, the crab fishery, is closed. And so I look, you know what, I just happened to, you had been here, Captain Colburn, a few years ago, and I said, boy, there's so many people on my office team that love you and love that show. Would you sign
They don't work for me, though.
Well, that's my point, actually. That is exactly my point. Because you know what, when I was sitting here listening to my colleague from Mississippi tell me that it was all about an amendment, that somebody didn't get an amendment, and I started thinking about that picture, this picture of your vessel tossing around in the ocean. And if you could see this close up, you can see the ice all over the vessel. You can see the difficulty that this vessel has to operate under, and you have to come back here just to go and do this job and hear somebody talk about how they didn't get an amendment and that's why the government is shut down. It's unbelievable to me that we're sitting here and that you have to come and do this instead of being able to do this job that is already dangerous and treacherous to begin with. And now you have to show up in Washington, D.C., which I think speaks a lot about who you are as a person, because you are for doing the dangerous task and you're coming back here and telling us to get our act together. Now, I want to ask you about this issue because I think some people, again, are under the false impression that, oh, it won't matter and that at some point in time you can just go catch these fish. Like, it won't matter, and that if there's some piracy in between now and when the fisheries open, that somehow they'll be caught. And when you mentioned in your testimony this $500 million being lost since 2000, we're talking about an operating Coast Guard. We're talking about people who were helping you. Now, with the difficulty of the shutdown, this impact of piracy and this impact that we're going to roll into loss of business is really going to hurt the fishery if it is not fixed in the next 48 hours, 72 at best. Is that not correct?
We are, even if they do have the creative fix, I think, because it's a fee-based program, get back on track here, we will still be delayed by at least 3 to 4 days on our normal start date. So that is already a given. That's the what if. I mean, we don't know for sure that, you're going to be able to do that. But I'll be honest, I would much rather be up in Alaska right now. I mean, and everybody knows, and they've probably seen that, what I do is really a dangerous job. And can be, at times it can be kind of scary, but I'll be honest, I'm a lot more nervous and scared sitting in this room talking in front of you on this microphone than I ever am when I'm out there in 30-foot seas. But it's even more terrifying when I start hearing about weather systems and weather forecasting getting shut down. A lot of things that impact us out on the ocean, but also that's going to impact people land-based. I mean, the senator from North Dakota with the blizzard that just hit him recently. I mean, where did that blizzard go after that? So ultimately, I'm concerned about the possibility that is very real that we're going to lose our market share to Russian caught crab. They're not going to catch our crab. Our crab's protected, at least right now. Now, if the Coast Guard starts losing more and more funding, well, there's going to be nobody out there to patrol the date line.
And cut back 35%, and they have a very complex set of missions. If there's any organization in the federal government that has been asked to do many, many things with minimal resources, it's the Coast Guard. And so now they're being diminished another 35%. So I think it will be challenging for them if we don't get this government open to continue to focus on the piracy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Cantwell and Senator